You're welcome back. And if you had been trading, buying things in dollars and struggling to find the cities to do so, I'll bet these last few days have been quite a relief for you. You need a lot less cities to get your dollars. The rates have plummeted as the value of the city has appreciated. So about a week and a half ago, you would be lucky if you could get a dollar for 5 cedis and 88 pesos. But today, we're looking at 5 cedis and about 5 pesos. That appears to be all you need to get a dollar. In fact, it's a lot less at the moment, 5.1. That's how far down it's come. 5.1 this morning. That's what is being quoted by some online currency converters. 5.1. That is seriously a step down from the rather scary heights of 5.88 that we reached at some point even last week. So what brought it down? How did the managers of the economy manage this? And how sustainable is this appreciation of our currency? What are we going to have to do to hold it up and keep it up? And what information do those whose business relies on foreign exchange and the exchange of currency, what do we need to know in terms of forecast for the rest of the year? We've got the best person to help us answer those questions. Not so long ago, he was named as the government's spokesperson on finance. I'm talking, of course, about the Honourable Member of Parliament for Bantama, Mr. Daniel Ochim Aboagye. He's our guest this morning. How nice to see you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Good morning, my bro.
Excellent. Now, you're a fresh blogger. You just came back from London, where the road show and so forth is going on.
Obviously.
So perhaps we'll make the conversation a bit broader. We're starting off with the Cedi, but obviously it appears to have been affected by the recent bond, which was oversubscribed, among other things. Talk to me. I mean, first, explain to us how come the Cedi is suddenly gaining its second wind?
Well, Kojo, let me say good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. And of course to my people in Bantama, and to say that it's good news to see the city appreciating value, because for some time now we are all worried about the fact that it was losing its value in terms of CD versus the dollar fight. And of course this is something that has lived with us for quite some time. And I believe we should be having a very comprehensive discussion about how we manage the city, maybe ultimately to take it out of our politics, because as long as we remain import so much dependent on imports, like the president said, we're going to have to deal with this maybe every now and then. But the good news is that if the price of the city is determined by demand and supply, and the news of the demand and supply is saying that Ghana is going to be able to raise, or is going to bring in about $3 billion. I mean, come on, that means there's going to be enough funds for anybody to be able to get whatever they want, to do whatever they want. So definitely that demand and so the market will respond to whatever the news is. And we think in some ways part of the reason that we think were causing the depreciation was speculation. You know, people were thinking about the fact that maybe the U.S. economy is doing well. People were more speculative, and so to the extent that we are getting money in from maybe Cocoa Board, bringing some sort of money now, with the success we've had with the IMF, we're getting some $180 million coming, $85 million coming in. The Eurobond is about $3 billion, and other funds that are coming in. So that should just tell you that demand. The supply is going to increase, and obviously if the market is truly determined by demand and supply, then definitely the price will go down. And like you said, is this sustainable? I think in the short time, we should have a short-term plan, and then a medium to long term, which I think if you look at most of the policies that the MPP government is pursuing, you know, these are all attempts to try to make sure that our economy is strong. Because to be honest with you, we import a lot of things, and of course, as a developing country, we will need those. We need to import equipment, machinery to be able to develop our country. But we import too many other things that we also consume. So if you look at the government policy of one district, one factory, it's an attempt to begin to produce substitutes, things that we can produce in Ghana. Why should we be importing them, especially if we can do it good quality at a reasonable cost so that the price is competitive? Why do we have to import, you know? And so if you're able to cut our imports by eating more of what we grow here, in that case planting for food and jobs, it means our demand for foreign goods, even for consumables, will go down, and we will need lesser amount of dollars to be able to import. And then there's another policy that tries to encourage export. It's called planting for export and rural development. So if you pursue all these kinds of policies, you might look at them as maybe more of a long term, but that's how you have to sustain it. If you don't change the structure of economy, where we import more than we need, where we import more than, what do you call it, we export, you know, then we're going to have problems. And of course, on the export side, we keep exporting our raw material, our natural resources in raw states. If we don't add values to these things, then there's a limit to how much foreign currency we can bring in to help with the supply. So that is basically some of the challenges, and these I think are not new to any of us, except that somebody has to begin to take the initiative, and I think the MPP government is actually pursuing this aggressively. And the idea is that ultimately economy should fix itself.
All right.
Yes.
Now, I know we talked about this at the State of the Nation,
Sure.
on the sidelines of the State of the Nation address.
Sure.
We talked about what caused this recent depreciation.
Yes.
And it was the decision of Bank of Ghana to cut the rates at a time when, the timing clearly, influenced the market's response,
Sure.
and now we saw the Cedi depreciating. That was pretty much an admission that it was a policy, a decision of the Bank of Ghana that caused, the recent depreciation. Much as we have an understanding that our fundamentals are contributing to the fact that our city never seems to be able to stay stable.
Well, I think the market misread that attempt. They misread it. If that's why I call speculation and stuff, other things like that. And that's part of some of the questions our friends in the opposition were asking. Why are you going to decrease your policy rate when conditions are better somewhere and people are likely to take their money from Ghana and put it somewhere else?
Yeah.
Why are you going to do that? But maybe some people don't understand what the central bank was trying to do. In the U.S. economy, for instance, is getting better. Ultimately, there's going to be a shift in investment. Investors will decide to place their money where they think is much safer, better returns, the speeds, whatever it is. So obviously, between Ghana and U.S. or any African country and U.S., people may choose U.S. over
That's a better alternative to them, yeah.
So what do you do? Now, what you do is that if the funds that are coming from the external, if you are being affected by external factors, one of the best ways to fight the consequences of that impact or that movement is to be able to ensure that there's a lot more economic activities locally. And how do you encourage economic activities? Reduce the policy rate, which is a bigger cost that informs the borrowing rate or the lending rate, so that more business people can access, individuals and business people can access more funds. More funds for more business. More business leads to multiplier effect. So that was an attempt to try to counteract the potential fuller effect of whatever may be happening externally.
But it didn't work.
You say it didn't work. That's why I say that it was misread.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So you could see that. Can the Bank of Ghana?
You could see that because that's why our friends in opposition were saying, "Hey, listen, investors are losing confidence." But we should tell our friends in opposition to today reconcile the fact that when we have been given the opportunity to go and raise $3 billion, the whole world, Asia, America, Europe, are saying that we are willing to offer 21 billion. So are you saying it didn't work? It's correcting itself. So it's not loss of investor confidence. It's rather the fact that I think there was some misreading there, which was an attempt by Bank of Ghana to ensure that we are also be able to generate more economic activities to to be able to fight it. So maybe in the short term, if you say it didn't work, maybe that's probably, for lack of better words, that's what you would say. But I can assure you, it was meant to be able to say, let's try to cushion ourselves locally to make sure. Because if you look at the U.S. economy, for instance, do you know what it is to drive the U.S. economy? If they want to encourage consumption, which will have multiplier effects on their economic growth and development, they use the interest rate. You know, if they want people to borrow more, they reduce it. Sometimes they go to zero, so that business and individuals, credit cards can be issued, there'll be consumption, and
absolutely
a lot of effects.
Now, here in our country, we've actually been reducing our interest rates at several different points in time.
It was 17, I think.
And the market almost never responds the way we expect it to.
Well,
you know, so I mean, today, if you speak to, and I actually want you to be thinking of the average Ghanaian, not so much our friends in opposition as you refer to them as, but the average Ghanaian. He's the one who's listening to you now, trying to plan his business. You know, so in the past, whenever we've had reductions in the rate, we've expected the banks to pass this on to customers, and they haven't always done that. In fact, it has been a matter of contention. We keep hearing the suggestions of market watchers that maybe we need to bring in some moral suasion to get these banks to do what the central bank wants them to do, because they're not doing it. So on this occasion, the Bank of Ghana had the benefit of this history behind them, understanding how the market tends to respond when they reduce the rate. Should this not have informed their strategy, their communication strategy? Should it not have informed their engagement with the market, so that with such a reduction at a time like this, when it could backfire, they could have mitigated the effect by making sure that the communication is accurate, everybody understands what they're doing, they understand why it's happening at this time, so that the market does not misread it and actually reacts properly?
Well, Kojo, whatever happens, I think it's opportunity for improvement. You can describe it however you want to describe it, but I think they should probably do more for the reduction. Because we expect
perhaps do it with some
with more education, whatever it is.
Yes.
Because we expect that whatever the attempt is, that let's try the interest rate, the cost of lending, borrowing is too expensive. Right. You know, and for far too long. I'm a practitioner. I'm also in the financial industry, so definitely I know what I'm talking about. You see that it's cheaper and easier for banks to be able to, some banks, I should say, or most banks, to be able to get revenue from treasury bills than to give the money to a business person. Because the interest rate on the treasury bills was quite attractive and good enough for banks to say that, you know what, instead of giving you to Kojo, where there's a possibility of you pay or you may not pay, something may happen to a business, the risk of repayment is very high. I'd rather go conservative. And even if it's 14%, 18%, save money. I can meet my operating expenses, I'll be fine. So if you're a government or if you're a Bank of Ghana, you want to encourage more economic activities to shape up the economic growth, then you have to continue to say that, well, you can bring on your money as a bank, but I'm not going to give you attractive rates, so that you tend to begin to look at other ways of what? Making good enough money to sustain your business as a bank.
That's right.
I don't think that the rate is, you know, maybe not good or bad enough for them to respond to the public. By the way, don't forget, recently the Bank of Ghana has increased the capital requirement from 120 million, Ghana cedis to now 400 million.
That's right.
So if I'm an investor and a shareholder in the bank, I cannot sit for you to let all this money sit somewhere. So what is happening right now, I'm telling you, because I'm also in the industry, I'm also a businessman, the banks are beginning to step out. Because now they have lower treasury bill rate. They will make some returns, but it's not too attractive enough. Now the policy rate is good, businesses are opening up. And so at some point in time, if we cannot keep all these funds that we brought in by Bank of Ghana requirement, we have to step out. We have to begin to look for businesses and give them this money. And I'm telling you, from where I sit, at least, I borrow from the banks and some of the banks to do my business as well. They are actually now becoming more proactive. And more economic activities from individuals, from from businesses, that's the micro level. So, because what the government has been doing, the MPP government has been doing, to be honest with you, we've done very, very well, by all counts, on the macro macro level. Because inflation is down, GDP growth rate is quite good, you've sustained, the debt is within manageable limits and stuff like that. How do we ensure that this gets to the people, you and I, at the micro level? That's why Ghanaians will come and say, we don't have money in our pockets and all those things. So whatever the Bank of Ghana is trying to do is to let that which can say Ghana is doing well at the highest national level go down and begin to hit the micro level, the firms and the individuals. And that is what we're seeing.
I guess so. For what a business owner would like to hear right now,
yes,
is some assurance that in the future,
yes,
even if the Bank of Ghana makes such a decision, which they aim for the benefit of Ghanaians,
exactly,
it will be done in a way that doesn't have this unintended
consequences.
Indeed.
Yes.
So there ought perhaps to be an admission that this could have been avoided, so that in the future we know you will do it differently.
But the question is, the good thing is that because it was quite speculative, it's also been corrected that quickly. Now you know where it stands right now.
Right.
Maybe in the future you see this as opportunity for improvement. Maybe if we're going to do this, we have to do more explanations, and let's not kill ourselves too hard in the back. I mean, it's just well intended. Maybe we need more communication to understand, so we are not misread. Because honestly speaking, the confidence that the investor community globally have shown in Ghana, even at the time that the IMF is hesitant. I mean, Ghana is hesitant the IMF program. At the time that there's so much negative news in the media, in the public, and opposition is peddling a number of things and stuff like that. People say, no, we still believe in your management of the economy. We still believe in your fundamentals. We are ready to put money with you. And like I said, it's not somebody who is spotted. I was there in the UK. I was there in London, seeing things live. At some point, it's reported there was 21 billion. It was, to be honest with you, I was recording from time to time. The highest I recorded was 22.6 billion offers. People willing, over 1,200 subscriptions, people are willing to. So that should tell you that why is that these very people who we hear are losing confidence in the economy are willing to demonstrate.
So what is it that these investors saw? And let's talk about the bond now.
Sure.
I'm so glad you were there. I mean,
good.
What is it that these investors saw that perhaps the Abosi Okai trader doesn't see?
Yes.
Or the Ghanaian businessman who feels like he's struggling doesn't see? What is it that this foreign investor saw that made them want to throw 22.5 billion of their money at Ghana?
And it's a great question, Kojo, so to say. Let me tell you. The management of the economy, the fundamentals, within the last 2 years have improved. And we are sustaining them and even trying to improve them. So the MPP government is doing well. They have a lot of trust in the MPP government.
Which fundamentals have improved?
I mean, I'm talking about the macroeconomy. The inflation, look at that. It used to be 15.4%. Now it's about 9%. We used to have GDP growth rate that was hanging around 3.4. Now it's about almost 8.1 by the time we'll finish 2017.
So you mean the macroeconomic indicators?
They speak a lot of volume. The government policies that are being pursued, that is what you call a stamp of confidence in the government policies and how the economy is managed. There was a time that the president said something that I don't think a lot of Ghanaians pay a lot of attention to. That the Minister of Finance is one of the greatest assets we have in Ghana. And I don't doubt it. I don't, because I was one of the few people that when we were at the University of Ghana, he came around and encouraged that, you guys may go to pursue your education abroad, but when you finish, come back and support your country to follow. He doesn't really remember that I was one of the students that he spoke to. But if you have opportunity to meet with him and begin to hear how he's looking at the issues of our fiscals, debt management, revenue management, and expense management, and how he has like absolute control over how he's trying to close loopholes, let's expand the tax base, then you'll be happy that you're dealing with somebody who at least fully understands what the problems are and what we need to do, even though the steps may be baby steps, because it's a gradual process. It takes time to get a lot more people into the tax net. It takes time to close the loopholes. But at least they identified. And he fully understands what needs to happen. I remember there was a time that he appeared before the Finance Committee. I'm talking about the Minister of Finance. And that was 2017. We were doing the reviews. And I asked him, I think it was one of the agencies, If I look at the spending rate, you spend probably about almost 53%. That means non-performance, you know. And so what do you say? Because when we give you budget, that spend that you spend, and spending creates incomes and all that. And he said, Honorable, let me say this to you. We had just come into power, you know. There are certain things that were coming from left and right. You didn't have our control over everything at that moment. So we needed to slow down a little bit before we start spending. That was quite an answer.
Good. He was criticized for that, though, by many.
But the question is,
many of your own people.
The question is, when you are given opportunity to go into a new environment, a new business, and in this case, Ghana business, the Minister of Finance, the first thing anybody should do is begin to understand the drivers of further revenue or expenses and what the states are, and whether or not you may want to improve certain controls to make sure that you achieve effectiveness and efficiency. So to that extent, I mean, as a businessman, I understood him from that point of view, and I believe from that point on, if you should sit with him and engage him, you can understand that he fully understands. Not him alone, of course, his team, Charles and Kwartin and Abena, all those people.
So you credit the finance minister for this government
macroeconomic indicators. I mean, the fundamentals are pointing to the right direction. Another thing you can also understand, the Minister of Finance and himself is another person that knows this market very well, and he's a known person in the market. So obviously there'll be more confidence also. And also another thing that is that investors were happy about the fact that government and the Parliament of Ghana has passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act to say that no government or no Minister of Finance is going to spend more than 5% deficit without coming to Parliament for approval. That is a form of control. The presidency has gone ahead to establish the Fiscal Council and also the Financial Council to also begin to advise him. And these are using great men, assets that we have to support, manage the economy. So in spite of the fact that we're living there, there's no tired eye looking at us in the form of IMF. Investors were confident.
So what I was asking was, I mean, would you credit the finance minister with the success on the bond market?
In fact, I'll credit the entire government of which he's part.
Right.
For the success, and that is a stamp of confidence in what we are doing.
And your success on the bond market is what perhaps has had the biggest impact on the value of the cedi.
Yes, of course.
So again, because members of your government were heavily criticized when the cedi was losing value, particularly the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. So did Dr. Bawumia have a role to play?
Come on, as a member of the economic, as a leader of the economic management, definitely he's part of this whole thing. That's why I said the government. I mean,
right.
So to include everybody. So basically,
now,
that's what it
regarding the cedi, regarding the bond, I want to read you a quote about the Eurobond. You can't borrow yourself out of bankruptcy. With Ghana's, where is it? It is not clear how adding to the debt burden is going to get us out of the current crisis. While the Eurobond borrowing would provide additional borrowed foreign exchange to support the cedi, the impact is bound to be temporary if the fundamentals are not addressed. Guess who said that?
I don't know. I don't go or something.
Those are good guesses. That was Dr. Bawumia.
Okay.
In 2016, 2015, 2016, criticizing the former government for doing what you are patting yourselves on the back for. The exact same thing.
But could you, there's a clear difference.
That is the MPP this time.
No. It's a clear difference. Of course, MPP is one.
What's the other difference?
The other difference is that at that time it was NDC.
Is that it?
And the more reason also is because when it comes to management of economy, they know we are more competent than they are.
But
I'm coming to deal with this.
Thing.
I'm coming to do this. Deal with this. What were the fundamentals at those? I mean, in those times when this was said, the internal fundamentals. They were not all good? Pointing to the wrong direction.
And yet people oversubscribed for the bond at the time.
How much? 7 times like ours?
Oh yes, actually even more.
Yeah.
Even more.
No.
Seth Tekpe raised, in fact, they oversubscribed about
100%.
8 times the value. I'll get you the number.
The ones I looked at was The ones I look at was 100%, I think. I look at a few of them, but it was only 100%.
Okay.
Okay.
But it was oversubscribed. So why would you pat yourselves on the back for raising 3 billion when the fundamentals are good?
Yes.
But you criticize the previous government for raising, in fact, it was the same amount, when the fundamentals are bad. But so is that not even more of an achievement?
The question is, Kojo, when you have a management team that is sinking the economy, that is mismanaging the economy, the best you can do is not to add debt. You understand the point I'm making? If you already have an economy that was distressed, choked by debt, and was mismanaged, as we saw, right, under our friends in NDC. And these are facts. I mean, you should look at the indicators, how they've changed. We should all be crying when you keep adding debt, especially when...
Here are the figures, sorry. It wasn't 8 times. It was a $750 million US bond, oversubscribed by 400%.
Exactly. So
what was the rate for this bond?
This one in terms of 700%?
No, I mean the interest.
The rate?
Yeah, because the rate on this one was 9.25%.
For which year?
2016.
How many year bond?
Oh, it's let's have a look.
Whatever it is, it was worse than we got. We got better than this one.
So what was it? What was
we had 3 tranches of products to go. We had 7-year, 12-year, and then we had what they call it, 31-year.
And the rates?
Which is the first. And the rates were, I mean, the 7-year was 7.875, and then the 12-year was 8.125, and then the 31-year was, I think, 8.95.
Okay.
So even the 31-year, we got it cheaper than they did. So there's a clear difference. By the way, the point I was making is that, so when you have an economy that is already mismanaged, what you do is not to add that. By the way, if you give it to those people who were managing the economy at that time, they will further waste the money. And that's what we say, that for our friends, they were managing the economy recklessly. We are doing it prudently. There's nothing wrong with borrowing, except if you give it to our friends in NDC who mismanage it. If you borrow and you put it in proper use, I'm sure you live in the UK for many years. When I went to the US, I was looking for what they call America's land of opportunity. Do you know what I discovered? Loans. As long as you take it and use it for the purpose for which it is meant for, and you repay, everybody will change you with money. And you have opportunity to do things that with your own money you cannot do. So if loan in itself is not bad, it depends on who you give it to and what they use it for. So for us, we believe that given how far we've come in 2 years and how far we want to go, I believe it's another opportunity for the government to get money to implement some of the fine policies that it has already started, so that together we can further build this country. And that's what makes it the difference.
But Mr. Aboagye, much as you might wish to point out differences, and the differences you want to point out is in the competence of the 2 parties borrowing the money, right?
The competence and the use.
Fair enough.
Okay,
but the similarities cannot be ignored.
Oh, no, of course.
The similarity here is that you've gone to the international market and they have shown confidence. In you. Same as your predecessors went to the international market and they showed confidence.
But it's quite a difference. To what extent?
You might look at the difference in numbers, but the reality is that you have achieved the same thing. You are patting yourselves on the back for it. Now, I want to show you this. This is from Kumasi importers. This is what they had to say when the Cedi was depreciating.
We are now pleading on our listening government, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa, to reduce high import values. Also, to use the original invoices that we use to buy goods at our various points of sales to write duty for us. Also, to work on the fast Cedi depreciation. Also, to stop the use of US dollar to write duty on the goods which we bought with CIF or CIFA for us. The last but not the least, to eliminate all illegal barriers and set points with immediate effect. We are of high hope that the President, Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa, will hear our plea. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we, the members of the above-mentioned associations, are giving ourselves now till the end of this month, March 2019. If nothing is done, we will hit the streets in a grand style. We promise the government we will do.
Right, so these are the importers, and this is how agitated they were. They were
Sure.
threatening strikes, threatening to hit the streets, or not strikes, demonstrations, threatening to hit the streets. That's how concerned they were, because they were losing money hand over fist. This is because the market had misread a policy direction that the Bank of Ghana had taken. Now, following this amount of stress on their business, people losing money, when eventually the government goes to borrow to fix the problem in the form of these bonds, you then come back and celebrate. Is it even sensitive to be celebrating when you know people have lost money as a result of policy decisions that this same government has made? Is it sensitive? I mean, I'm talking about the Kinke party that we all saw pictures about. We all saw pictures of.
Life in itself needs to be celebrated. Life. Every day. You should be celebrating now. But we don't know what tomorrow brings.
Is that your advice for those who lost money?
I'm just trying to say that what we just heard and the challenge that the city was going through affects all of us. You and I. If the people on the street were not happy, President Akufo-Addo is a government they have elected to serve him. Do you think the president is going to be happy? No.
So why is the finance ministry
So the point I'm making, the point I'm making is that if Ghanaians are not happy, the president will not be happy. And I'm glad he said he's a listening government, so he's going to listen and whatever he can do. The celebration is important because we had other section of Ghanaians that had, speculated and made all forms of allegation that we do not, investors don't believe in our country. And they don't know that these kinds of statements have cost implication, because if you can even make the price of whatever you are going to borrow very expensive. It was a success. We went to the market to raise 3 billion. We ended up getting offers to the tune of over 21 billion. It was a success. So it needs to be celebrated. By the way, look at how they celebrated it. Kenke. Eat Ghana.
Really?
Drink Ghana. Sleep Ghana. Wear Ghana. Drive Ghana. Everything Ghana. Export Ghana. Promote Ghana. Help Ghana.
People have lost money.
We all did. We all did.
So is that the justification?
No. It's not. The question is that the point I'm making is that to the fact that the dollar and the city fight were winning, the city has started getting some level of appreciation. Don't you think we need to celebrate?
But the problem was caused by you.
We were not celebrating.
Why are we celebrating?
The problem was not caused by us. If you say the problem was caused by us, probably to me you're referring to the government.
Yeah, indeed.
Bank of Ghana is independent.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Oh, really?
Let's draw the lines.
That's convenient, isn't it?
It's not convenient.
I mean, I'm sure you don't want me to go into the number of instances when the government has taken responsibility for the actions of the Bank of Ghana when they've turned out well.
Obviously, they are supposed to pursue policies that are supposed to help the country.
Then perhaps we shouldn't be referring to them as independent in this context.
Okay, so the point I'm making is that if the city begins to take a U-turn, you all should be happy. And the happy is celebrated in Kinke Party. I mean, I wish I was there. I missed it.
Are you concerned about how the people of Ghana who lost money would feel watching this Kinke Party? Does it concern you?
Kinke Party, I mean, come on. I'm very happy that it's local food.
Who paid for it?
Who should pay for it?
You tell me.
All of us, you and I. If it's tax money, if it's celebrated on the ticket of, if it's celebrated on the ticket of, what do you call it, the Minister of Finance, come on, it's our tax money. But they have done work. Work has been done.
Really?
What? So there's no problem
Okay,
in,
so
in celebrating our victories.
If we should celebrate our victories, then we should also punish our failures, should we not?
Oh.
So who got punished?
Of course.
For the muck-up that led us to this place?
If people are talking about Bank of Ghana, or if people are even blaming the government and calling the government to fix it, the government, whether there are praises or there are blames, obviously will have to take both.
So who got punished? If we are celebrating a win, we should punish a failure, should we not? Or it's only the wins we want to celebrate?
No. I agree. I believe in pain or pleasure. There's no problem if you have to, reward people positively or otherwise. I don't have a problem with that. But sometimes some of these failures are opportunities for improvement.
Yes,
it may not necessarily require that somebody
Yes,
needs to be sacked or it may not require that. And by the way, let's not sit here and pretend that we are not all part of what happens to the city. If the city is depreciating, we are all getting affected. Yeah, I know you do something that if you don't do anything, at least you go to the market to buy a tire or a shirt and you're affected. I'm affected. The power of my money, my investment in Ghana, goes down by the day if the city is depreciating. So we were all worried, not just a few people that they were expressing it. And of course, if they wanted to do demonstration, it's their right, legal right to do it. Tell the government, and the government will listen and do something about it. I think we should be celebrating because...
Should you perhaps not have gone to throw the party for them? Go to Kumasi and throw a kinky party for them?
Oh,
by the
course.
way,
Sure.
to clarify, who paid for the party?
I
How
don't
much
know
did it
yet.
cost?
I wasn't there, but at the fair is the ministry. Obviously, it'd be probably a miscellaneous expense.
Right.
We'll go through the
And
ministry.
we don't know how much it costs
We don't know,
either.
obviously.
Can you find out for us? Because it's a question that
you
a
are
lot
the media man.
of viewers are...
So
that's what I'm trying to do.
Let's deal with the issues, but not the
Of course.
the fringes
so I'll
of the
check
whole
with you
issue.
later for
No
that
problem.
that information,
If
and
I
I'll
get
share
that
it
for
with
you.
our audience. But yes, let's
Sure.
get back to what we're
no
talking
problem.
about. And to me, I really think that.
But I don't think they were only celebrating also borrowing. We're also celebrating the fact that Ghana has been given opportunity to exit the IMF program. That in itself deserves to be celebrated.
We were supposed to exit some time ago.
Yes, but the question is...
A good while ago.
Of course. The question is, if our friends in the opposition were missing some of the benchmarks, we needed to make sure that we tell IMF, please, give us opportunity to improve upon these things, because we would like to exit at some point in time. And we assure you that by what we have done, we'll continue to sustain. So we need to give them some level of confidence or assurance that even though at the time we came in, certain benchmarks were not being met, but we are committed to making sure that we discipline ourselves in spending. And getting out of the program in itself needs to be celebrated heavily. Because to be honest with you, the implication of going under IMF means that I'm not capable of managing my home affairs when it comes to money. The house management money.
We've done this 16 times as a nation.
And that my homegrown policies are not working unless you bring your credibility to come and promise the whole world that you're watching over me.
We've done this 16 times as a nation.
Yes.
Should we not rather be waiting to celebrate when we actually create an economy that will not have to go back at any point in the future?
If you had the Minister of Finance at one point in time in Parliament, when we were passing, I believe, when we were passing the Fiscal Responsibility Act, he said never again.
That will only work if the finance minister remains finance minister forever, or if the president remains president forever.
Nope.
If other people will come, then he can't vouch for their performance, can he?
That will only work if you and I hold people to the law.
Aha.
Because we have legislated irresponsibility and make it more responsible. Every minister, I remember we asked him a question at the Finance Committee, Minister, don't you think you're punishing yourself and potentially a government by coming with this law? That you may probably get overspend the budget and you have to go to jail, or you have to be pass a vote of no confidence over you. And
so you believe that's the solution? That will never send us to the IMF ever again?
The MPP government is so responsible that not only have we proved to the IMF that we're capable of improving the benchmarks, the targets, but we have even gone ahead to the point of, one, passing a law to support that which you're saying, that it should outlive us. Whether we are in power or not, we should put this in as a check.
So as long as this law exists, and Ghana will never go back to the IMF.
You and I, we and I keep pushing, because there may be some laws that may not be implemented. As long as we push for enforcement of those laws, we should be able to stay within a deficit that will not take us to IMF.
The president is calling on us to change our tastes. This is an indication that, of course, it's going to take more than just laws for our economy, the fundamentals of our economy to change. Earlier, when you were referring to the macroeconomic indicators, which you say are good, I wanted to draw the distinction between them and the fundamentals. The fundamentals is just about how our economy is structured, what we depend on in order to survive. And the president has indicated that we all need to change our tastes. Is that not an admission that perhaps the biggest part of this is not really in the hands of the government, it's in the hands of the people? We kind of have, you have to basically make us change our tastes before we can be sure that our economy will never go back to the place it was.
It's in the hands of all of us. That's what the president calls on us. Let's be citizens and not spectators. By the way, who's government? You and I. So I am glad the president has made that call, but he has done that severally. Be citizens means broader than just being an ordinary citizen, just watching it. It means get involved, do something, do something, show love, show patriotism as a Ghanaian. And let me say this, Kojo, when people were talking about the fact that the MPP government has appointed too many ministers and all those things, do you know what I thought? I even said that, even though I believe that in terms of the facts and the numbers, we have more ministers, but to me, the end will justify the means, because we are not looking at input to input, minister to minister under two different governments. We are looking to input and output relationships. And as long as the marginal productivity from the ministers are more than just what we add one minister, then you shouldn't worry. So the end will justify the means. And I believe we'll have a lot of things to talk about that in terms of what we have to show for that many people. But one of the ministers that I thought the president should have appointed also was a minister of attitude.
Minister of what?
Attitude.
Attitude.
Yes.
I think that's a perfect place for us to draw a curtain on our conversation today.
Because we need to change our attitude as a people. We need to change our taste. We need to understand that you cannot expect the president to be paying for sanitation when you really working and sitting by waste. That will cause you to sick, and you think you're trying to work for money. You end up getting all the money and end up in the hospital and become wasteful. So we need to change our taste and our attitude to develop as a people.
Mr. Ochima Aboagye, that's, I think, a wonderful point to round up on. I'm so glad you were able to join us. We've learned a lot. Thank you ever so much. Daniel Ochima Aboagye is the government spokesperson on finance. He's also the Honourable Member of Parliament for Bantama.